Hello, welcome to another Looney Tunes review video. If you are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe to follow my journey to review all 1000 classic Looney Tunes shorts and give this video a like as well. So this is a review for Porky's Double Trouble, released in 1937. It's the 184th in the series and it's directed by Frank Tashlin. You can find this on the Looney Tunes Golden Collection Volume 5 DVD set and on the Porky Pig 101 DVD set as well. A HD version is out there. I'm not sure exactly where it comes from. It's probably a digital iTunes file or something, but hopefully one day we'll get a HD upgrade on disc. It's under copyright, can't show you the full thing here. So in case you haven't seen this one, a crook escapes out of jail who looks kind of like Porky, right? Hence the title, of course. So he hatches up a plan once he notices that Porky, the new bank teller, looks exactly like him, and that's his way to rob the bank. And we get all sorts of funny shenanigans from there. So we're going to go through the short itself, bit by bit, and pointing out all the references and all the usual stuff. And then you're going to hear from my good friend Austin Kelly, who is a self-professed Tashlin-holic, and he'll give his thoughts on this short as well. So let's dive right into this wonderful Frank Tashlin short, Porky's Double Trouble. Before we get into the cartoon though, the opening Looney Tunes theme somehow sounds a little bit different in this one. I don't know if they were just trying something new, but you can hear the extra piano keys in there. So I'm not sure why they tried this and then they gave up on it. I don't know. Let me know in the comments as to why you think they might have just changed the opening tune for this particular short. But anyway, we're not here to listen to that. We're here to watch this wonderful short, and I love the cinematic opening. And you're going to be hearing the word cinematic a lot, especially when it comes to reviewing a Tashlin short. So we see Porky is in the shadows. Or is it? Nope, it's his doppelganger. I mean, what do you expect? You've already gathered from the title that there'll be double trouble. But hey, it still works pretty well. He's caught out by these prison guards and they start shooting at him. All those machine guns, and they can't even hit the prisoner. Maybe that was Tashlin just playing on the fact that it happens a lot in the movies where, despite all the bullets flying everywhere, the hero or the main villain never seems to get hit. So we see a little montage, and we do see some repeated animation from the blowout. It takes every short in the very beginning as well. And there's not really much there, but whatever, it's useful for this short, so I can understand why it was reused. And I just love how we see the villain's face and we just see the eyes darting back and forward, and while we see this montage happen in the back. And this is a great way for Tashlin to set up the whole situation that this massive crook has escaped. They're looking everywhere for him. It's just a crazy situation that, oh, he's escaped and we need to find him. So it's a great way to do it. And we see the Sing Song prison, which is a reference to the Sing Sing prison. So there's that as well. And we see a newspaper. And if you've been following this channel a lot, you know I love looking at old-timey newspapers, right? All right, so we see in this one, weather, very unusual. And Alzaraz prison is a reference to Alcatraz prison, of course, and we also see Leon Schlesinger's name on the top right, who was the producer of Looney Tunes at the time. And I love the sub-headline, Warden reading detective story during the escape and police reported to be in hiding. Nice little article there, and of course, the body of the articles would have been just some random newspaper clippings from somewhere, because these were not really designed to be paused like we can do today. So we see where this hideout, which is the Katz School for Girls, which is a closed school from the looks of things, and that's a play on Ray Katz, who was Leon Schlesinger's brother-in-law and one of the personnel at the studio. I love the gangster chat as we see them, and if you look closely, one of the scenes, we can only see the heads are animated, so I guess it's one way to sort of rein in on the costs. Because if you look at a Tashlin short, he does so many angles and scenes, and that, of course, costs a lot of money and time. So he would no doubt have taken shortcuts in bits like this wherever he could, and hey, it works. It's fine. So we see that the killer is disguised as Mae West, and I love Mel Blanc doing the Mae West voice. in this short. It's fantastic. Absolutely love that. This monkey gangster, I'm assuming it's a monkey, but whatever, we'll just go with it. And he's using his finger under, quote unquote, her chin, and it's very unsettling close up there, but anyway. And we see that, no, this is actually the crook that's in disguise as Mae West, and he even uses dumbbells for breasts. Because why not, right? So we see he looks at another newspaper, and I just love the profile pic of the crook here. And according to the newspaper, it's Thursday in Porkysville. So I guess Porky's not only a bank teller, but he's also had a town named after him for some weird reason. But anyway, so he pans over and we see that Porky's been promoted to a teller position. You do have to wonder, why on earth would they even have a newspaper article about a bank teller being promoted? But hey, it drives the story forward, so I'm not going to question it too much. It's just so bizarre when you really think about it. Anyway, whatever. So when we see the killer again, there is a Kid Frizz poster in the back I just noticed. And is that a reference to Frizz Freeling? Maybe. Who knows? But whatever. So we see the bank where Porky works at, which he apparently works at the worst national bank. Because someone has to be the worst, I guess? I don't know why people would bank there, but anyway, apparently, if there's a best, there must be the worst, right? But I love the design of this bank, and this is during the 30s period where Frank Tasher was doing the whole modern style, and he will still do that right up until he departs in 1938 and heads over to Disney. And we see that Porky's actually good at his job as a teller, and he seems to be enjoying himself. And we see the Scottish Terrier, which, yes, we're going to play up that whole stereotype that all Scots are very tight-fisted with their money. I'm sure that's based on some sort of reality at some point, but yeah, the gag's pretty obvious. I do like Porky's reaction when he realizes that it's only a 10-cent deposit as opposed to the wads of cash that everyone gave just before him, but anyway. So we see Petunia Pig, and she's a secretary in this one. So in past shorts, she's been like a potential fiance and a sister in one of them, and now she's a secretary. And this is going to be the last time we see her looking like this. Clampett would end up redesigning her for a few shorts before she ends up being retired. She's had somewhat of a comeback recently because I guess the powers that be realized that, hey, we need more female Looney Tunes characters. And I'm personally all for it, mind you. But it's interesting that she was just retired and then nothing for ages, and then all of a sudden she's back. So there we are. And I love the whole banter where she's flirting with Porky, and Porky, you can tell he kind of likes her, but he's ever the most professional, and he's like, nope, off to lunch, and he just says, I'm off to lunch, goodbye, and just goes off. That was a nice little scene. So I guess this is one way to kidnap Porky. So we see that, quote unquote, Mae West needs help with her engine. And I love that whole scene where she, we'll say he, because it's obviously he in this case, is going to knock him out. But every time he attempts to do so, Porky's like, I'm almost done. I'm almost done. It's such a nice scene. Then he's like, whatever, just smack him. See you later. Let's kidnap him. And so we see Porky's all tied up, and I love the look of the crook when he is laughing. You know, despite having weaker animators, Taschen definitely knew how to make things work in his unit. Tex Avery, I would argue at this point, had the better animators, but Taschen, again, he knew exactly what to do with the animators that he had in his unit. And we see a weird mirror gag where even mirrors hate this crook, and the crook somehow gives the mirror a black eye. Oh, the fiend, he's so bad. He even pulls on Porky's nose. Ooh. He's really bad, isn't he? So we're back at the worst national bank, and I love how he goes, a terrible reserve bank, capital plenty, millions deposited, half that amount, and we of course hear plenty of money in you in that scene, because what else is Carl Starling going to play in that scene? I mean, really, what did you expect? And I do love the sinister look of evil Porky, and for some reason people are depositing things and no one's questioning that he's putting stuff in his pocket. So, okay, we trust you, Porky. And we see Petunia again flirting with who she thinks is Porky, and he does that whole reaction. Why not tonight, baby? And just that reaction, and she's like, wait a minute, this is too fast. Maybe she prefers this hard-to-catch Porky. So the alarm gets sounded off, and you're going to wonder, where did all the guns come from when he was escaping? Just really, really odd. And we see the loot, but eventually the cops show up at the hideout and we see that there is a shootout. We even see a crook so shook up that he ends up losing stuff from his pants, because why not? And I do really enjoy this scene here, just the fast-paced energy of it all. And we all know what to expect when we see this cop starting to shoot up. I don't know what on earth he's aiming for, shooting directly up. I mean, the crooks are not in the plane or anything, and even then, why would you do this? But anyway, I recall that scene is actually used in an upcoming Chris Farley Murdery Melody short as well. And then we see a cop that he thinks he's shot from a nearby woodpecker? Okay, sure, why not? Okay, and we see in the last part that Porky ends up untying himself, and he somehow smashes through all the crooks and even ends up being brave enough to jump on top of the main crook as well. So I guess he's founded some newfound confidence, I suppose. Now, if you ever need a slow motion anything, it's the fight between Porky and the main crook, and it's absolutely amazing. It looks very bizarre as well, but it's pretty cool to look at, I think. And as you'd expect, we end up with the whole who is the real Porky bit at the very end. What do you expect? And Petunia, she figures out the real Porky by simply flirting with one of them, and it's like, yep, he's the real Porky because of how shy he is, but she ends up picking the killer because he can kiss well. And the police even leave Porky behind for some reason and close the door, okay? And we end right there. So I've been prattling on long enough, so my good friend Austin Kelly is going to give his thoughts on this short and his observations. So, take it away, Austin.
Austin Kelly here, super Frank Tashlin fan, to talk again about another super Frank Tashlin cartoon, Porky's Double Trouble from 1937. Boy, this is really a fantastic thriller suspense story, and another killer entry in what I always thought was Tashlin's best year as a filmmaker, 1937. Just hit after hit here, and even the weaker ones, like the color cartoons, speaking of the weather and the Woods Are Full of Cuckoos, I find a lot to like and enjoy. People can and do deny whether or not the good outweighs the bad in a cartoon like The Woods Are Full of Cuckoos, but few can deny that the bad outweighs the good in something like Porky's Double Trouble. This is one of those brilliant films that mixes comedy with suspense and a genuinely great mystery, thriller, action story. This is something that Tashlin could do so well, and maybe it's because of the black and white that adds to the aesthetic, but after this and Case of the Stuttering Pig, there were very few, if any, Warner cartoons that came close to being as scary and funny. I mean, Friz Freleng did his Jekyll and Hyde trilogy, which is always enjoyable, but never as good as the black and white Tashlins, which again are enjoyable because they were done in a period during which those were the most authentic, cool ways to do horror films. Whereas later, of course, Friz Freleng was always a traditionalist, so he seemed kind of behind. But in the 30s, black and white, creepy stuff like this, Tashlin is right at home, man. Also, what makes this cartoon really good is this guy, I hope you've heard of him, his name is Mel Blanc. When he came in to do Porky, you can tell that a weight was lifted off of Tashlin's shoulders, as well as everyone else's, of course. In the early Porky Tashlin black and white cartoons, I sense a lot of the writers, be it Tashlin or whoever else was working with him, trying to find ways to avoid making Porky talk. And I assume that's because Joe Doherty was so complicated to deal with. The voice actor who did Porky from his introduction, I Haven't Got a Hat. Joe Doherty had a real stutter, and his voice recordings sessions were always way long because he couldn't actually get through lines. He was genuinely tripping up and going through them. And they realized that it was a bad idea to keep him on, and so when they got Mel Blanc, they got a talented guy that could do a stutter funnier and get through the lines quicker, and thus make for a funnier voice actor and make Porky a better character. Now that Porky is a competent character voiced by a competent actor, he's talking a lot more, he's got a lot of funny stuff to say, part of the beauty of this cartoon is Porky's charm is just like an everyman working as a banker, it's so funny. Of course, Taslin doing these great parodies of these 30 crime thriller films, which he probably wanted to partake in a live action field because his mind was always on what he wasn't doing, as he's told Mike Barrier. The star in these films usually has a romantic lead, and that's why he came up with Petunia Pig and the great Porky's Romance. Also to be used in Case of the Stuttering Pig, and also to be used in Porky's Double Trouble. And boy, she's great because she just works as any female figure that's needed in the film. Of course, she's probably at her best in Case of the Stuttering Pig, but here in Porky's Double Trouble, I mean, she's pretty good too. That's all I gotta say about this one. This is a classic Frank Taslin cartoon. Anyone interested in film, comedy, animation, good music, good voice acting, good, clear, concise, exciting, interesting, hilarious storytelling. Anyone interested in any or all of those topics should definitely be looking at this, because this is one of the best, man. I'm Austin Kelly. Until next time to talk about more Taslin. Ta-ta.
Thank you, Austin. This is a great one. This one gets an 8 out of 10 for me. It's so cinematic and so funny as well. It's very bizarre in parts, but it's bizarre in such a way that just makes you laugh. But it's a great one, and I hope this HD upgrade does make its way on disc one day. Chances are it's probably going to end up on some sort of a One Archive release, on some sort of gangster movie perhaps. Who knows, but hopefully that'll happen down the track. But that'll do it for this one. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, take care.